I was listening to the Nigel show. He was at CPAC to cover the event, but the Parkland shooting and the reaction to Donald Trump's statements about gun law, gun control, generated such a response that the entire show turned into that. And I was quite disappointed because I wanted to hear the foreign Anglosphere coverage of the event. I thought that would be more useful than the domestic coverage, so I was out of luck. What I got, on the other hand, was several callers, not all the British callers, but several of the British callers who demonstrated an absolutely appalling lack of knowledge and lack of understanding about gun crime in the United States. So what I did, and let's back up for just a second. Why is the Parkland shooting important? Like, why does anyone think it's a tragedy? Because 17 people were said to have been killed. So it's the lives of 17 people that get folks riled up. They think that 17 dead people, especially young people, is something to worry about. Now, if you have even the most basic experience with the real statistics of gun homicides in the United States, you know that mass shootings are not a major cause. They're not the plurality of the causes. They're a blip. It's places like Detroit, New Orleans, Chicago, Gary, Indiana. It's places like this where most people who are killed with guns are actually killed with guns. So, and if you know that, you also know that the people who are killing each other with guns are typically felons who are having guns illegally. So the suggestions that the British come up with, the British callers, are things like, well, you need better licensing, you need to go and check on people's guns and stuff and make sure that they're being responsible. It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. It demonstrates a fundamental misunderstanding of the issue. So what I've done here is I pulled out one of the calls from the show that was the worst one I found, and then I added a little bit of an Easter egg into it for you that I hope that you will enjoy and that I think demonstrates the depth of the misunderstanding that some of these people in Britain might have who've never handled a gun, who didn't grow up in a gun culture, don't know what it means, haven't experienced it. They're just, completely lost. The argument that the guy makes in the call, or what he brings up, is that Switzerland and the United States are two countries that both have high per capita rates of gun ownership. But only one of these countries, Switzerland, has very little gun crime. In fact, very little gun homicide. In fact, if you take the immigrants out of the equation, Switzerland has almost no violent crime whatsoever. But so the conclusion from this information is that it's not necessarily gun ownership, it's gun culture. So there's something in America that needs to change for these gun homicides to stop. And with that, I'll show you the call, and just hang on to the end. It's kind of, he's rambling a little bit like I'm doing now. But anyhow, thank you for your time. Hope you enjoy.
What do you make of his comments?
I think his comments about giving teachers guns is an absolutely ridiculous comment. And
Right.
I've heard a couple of people on this show and many other shows say teachers are there to teach. They're not there to be security guards or to work in that sort of area. And you know what? Even if you did give these guys guns, a concealed handgun is not going to be any kind of deterrent to a machine gun. And I've heard a couple of people say that have come on as well. And on top of that, even the police that go to these schools after the shooting, some of them are even traumatized, and they're trained for it, so they can't do that. So that's number one. Number two, the fact that Donald Trump has taken £31,190,000 from the NRA is a hypocrite. That a huge majority, I say a huge majority, a lot of the GOP are taking in excess of millions of dollars from the NRA. The only reason that there's been no change before, I heard you say, at least he's doing something, but there's no change before. Well, nobody wanted to change before because, let's face it, the whole GOP, which run the Senate and the House when Obama was in, would do nothing about it. and why would they? Because they're getting paid handsomely from the NRA. Gun culture has got to change. What they should do is they should license them the same as cars, have checks on them periodically the same as they do with cars. They should have insurance, do all that kind of. I'm for the Second Amendment. I don't mind the Second Amendment being there, but I'm against having machine guns and semi and automatic weapons because it makes no sense. Normal people can't go.
And there's no argument, Phil. Phil, there's no argument for it, whether it's for sporting shooting of targets, even if it's for shooting wildlife. There's no argument, is there, for having semi-automatic weapons and all the rest of it. I totally understand your point on that. Do you think, Phil, that when Trump said this morning, he'd be strongly pushing comprehensive background checks with an emphasis on mental health, that we are beginning to see a slight shift in the debate here?
Now, I'll go along with you that I kind of agree with that. But unfortunately, what you're doing is the same as what the NRA is doing over here. You're trying to deflect it onto mental health. In Switzerland they have mental health, and Switzerland is one of those countries that has more guns per capita for the country, the same as America. All right.
Yep. We're gonna show you what these choppers about.
50 shots, 30 shots, hit you with it fucking Glock. I bet I make your heart stop.
Each one of us got a gun. A mo. Yeah. Grenades and all on who want to get blown up. Stupid shit. We don't give a fuck. Long little roach, man.
18 or better.
Long little roach. Hey, man, you call me baby Tony Montana. Who want it? Yeah.
I'm fighting ass up. 18 or better.
Yeah, and we move by ourselves too. Yeah, we move by ourselves too. Yeah, man. Yeah, we move by ourselves for real. When we get together, you better be aware.
We ain't never like 20, 30 deep. We ain't big like
we keep our circle small, you dig?
Play money.
I'm trying to tell you, we baby ISIS, man.
I spend it every day. They play money, nigga. I ain't got a trap. They play money, nigga. They play money, nigga. They 5,000 play money, nigga.
Stop playing with
Stop playing, nigga. I got a bankroll right here too. This shit.
Nah.
40 years ago, long before the word permaculture was coined, Sepp Holzer started to build his dream, a commercially viable, ecologically sound farm. Today, he has one of the biggest working permaculture businesses in Europe. He has transformed his fir tree desert into a farm producing a healthy surplus of food for the community, water and energy for the farm, and an environment that sustains animals, plants, and the soil. Sepp Holzer has learnt everything simply by observing nature. His experience is the only source of knowledge he trusts.
And they don't have the same problem, right? And so don't try and pin this on mental health. I mean, yes, there's something wrong with people that go in and shoot up schools,
so Phil, basically it's a deeper...
Just because of mental health.
It's a deeper cultural problem, yeah?
Yeah, don't you? Yeah, and you really, what annoys me is all the conservatives want to deflect this and say it's not about guns. It is about guns and the amount of guns that are there. And you know what? The fact that the guns are there, even though that there's more guns owned in the US than there is people, that's not a relevant factor, all right? If you put in the right controls to gun controls to allow people to have the Second Amendment and the freedom to own guns, tell me, what is the reason? Why would you not? You cannot drive a car, all right, in this country or any other country without having it taxed, insured, all right, and checked on a regular basis to make sure it's safe.
Yep.
So I have no understanding why that would not be acceptable for gun owning.
Oh, well,
And
Phil,
why wouldn't that be?
I don't think America's ready for that yet, but I do think we're heading in a direction. I do think there was a change of debate. I thank Phil in New York for his call. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC and live from Washington, D.C. It's 7:40.
This play money, nigga. Hold up. Fuck, nigga, and I got a wallet, bitch ass, nigga. Y'all hold up, man. I got about 1,000 in my wallet, too, nigga. They play money. This shit be on me, nigga. Y'all fuck, nigga. Stop playing, nigga. Yeah, stop playing.
Who own it? Yeah.
Play money with us, man.
We out here. Yeah, we on Washington Road with it. Yeah, niggas ain't bred like us. Free body or nobody. Who own it? Who own it?
Well, if we don't make it, we gonna take it.
You know that?
Hey, man, we gonna make it in, take it. How we gonna lose? We gonna make it in, take it. How we gonna lose, nigga? We ain't taking no loss. You hear me? We going all the way up, nigga. We gonna make it in, take it. How we gonna lose?
Hey, what Lucy say? What you want Lucy say? It's a documentary, man, for real.
Yeah, we gonna make it in,
for real. It's a documentary out here, for real, man.
We can't go nowhere.
We raised like this. We born like this.
Man, we getting in. We making our own way.
Get rich without trying, bitch. Bop.
Ain't no goddamn opportunity. We making our own lane. We getting in.
Shouts out to crack. Shouts out to crack. Yeah. Shouts out to crack. Shouts out to boot now. Whoever fucking with free body, we fucking with them. If you ain't fucking with us, you ain't gonna get ran though. If you ain't fucking with us, you gonna get ran though.
Man, FBG free body for life, man. It's our lifestyle, man. You hear me? Getting money, man. Free the all, free the real, fuck the fake. That's it. I stamped that one.
I jump out with a dick on my buddy, you feel me? Yeah.
Free body.
You feel me? Free body way, man. You feel me?
The real documentary, man. You feel me? We on Washington Road, 4,500 blocks. Everybody here the slum, man. Long Little Road, man. That little point, man, the shooter. Free body gang. Y'all niggas already know this. This shit ain't no movies. This shit uncut. This shit real. This shit raw. That's how we out here every day, man. Free body way. Sticks, 30 rounds. Everything. Nigga pull up out here playing, I'ma gun you down. Straight up.
Yeah, we gonna make your mama cry.
Yeah, we gonna make your mama cry.
Bitch. Nigga ain't playing. And I got another clip. And some more fella with me.
Yeah, nigga ain't pulling up out here talking. Nigga doing all that talking. I told you we small. I told you up out here. Ain't nothing but a family. Ain't nothing but a family movement. Hey, look. Charles, look. You see that? Nah, for real. Nah, for real.
Free band gang, we free body gang.
Ain't no beef, bro.
We gonna put
free body movement, man.
Free body world, man. Niggas going through it out here, man. These motherfucking streets, you better get you a bankroll, nigga. Stay out the way.
I get
Get you a bankroll, stay out the way, nigga.
I get searched with this bitch.
Fuck you mean, yeah. I can chop you up, put you back to pieces.
Hey, y'all free that white head, man.
Grandmamas, daddies, grandma.